Welcome to this episode of Healthcare Blind Spots. And my special guest in this series is Lipika Devara. She lives in Texas and she's going to tell us more about herself and what she does. Welcome, Lipika.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
So, for the interest of our viewers, could you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name is Lipika, as Vivian introduced me. Thank you so much for that introduction. I am a senior at Rockville High School in Texas. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Some passions are like I love psychology. I'm very passionate about music. I've been doing music since I was a little kid. So yeah, I've been dibbling and just looking for my interests. And so basically me and my friends kind of started this organization and this nonprofit called All or Addressing Wellness and Equity.
Right. And you mentioned two critical things. One is that you're a student, a high school student. It's always heartwarming to see high school students getting engaged in healthcare, especially because healthcare is so critical to human existence. And two, that you're interested in psychology. And I was, reading up some of the intro you provided about A.W.E, that is your organization. So what inspired you to start this in the first place? And how far back does this go? Given that you are a student, and what has been guiding what activities you choose to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, Awe is fairly new organization. It was kind of an idea that me and my friends that are now in college right now at Georgia Tech, but me and them, we kind of met through a different organization from Red Cross. And after our internship ended with Red Cross, we were wanting to like open our scope to something bigger that we can make a difference for. That is just not like another organization, but something that we started. And so we founded Awe fairly like now it's been 2 years, but I founded Awe when I was a junior in high school, and it has been a great start. And yeah,
So, are you still with those friends as part of this
yes,
organization? And
yes, they're actually
if so, like, what are their names so that we could acknowledge them?
yes, yes, thank you. Yes, they're actually like one of my best friends, and they're the kind of like the main executive team of Awe, and their names are Kripa Kannan, and she's kind of like the technical person. She just kind of takes care of anything that needs in tech related issues. And we also have Celeste, and she's more of like our social media and like calendar, just kind of planning everything for the event manager and stuff like that.
Right. It always takes a team and a village to make things happen. So, back to the question I asked earlier, how did you select what activities you have been engaging in? And yeah, what drives that direction?
Yeah, some of the activities that I've engaged in, it was kind of more for like self-interest, and I was really intrigued and I wanted to do more always. And I felt like, especially coming from an Indian like immigrant family, it's always expected of you to like do more, achieve more. So that kind of mindset was always with me. And that kind of drove me into like exploring different interests and putting me like doing my own self-research into different programs in psychology and sorts. So that's kind of like what motivates me a lot of the times, especially my parents also. But yeah.
And can you give us examples of some of the activities that you have been a part of or you have initiated or implemented?
Yeah, some of the activities that we implemented are really in like awe. We have done 20 plus events, and some prominent ones where we got to go to Washington, D.C. to present some of our ideas, our events that we're doing to people all over the country. There were constituents coming from Italy, Mexico. It was just a great experience. We have done a lot of charities with nonprofit organizations, like we have done a prominent organization with One Juma Charity based in Uganda, where we got to do a podcast with them and a charity with them, and we got to fundraise over $1,000+ and through a bake sale. Some those are kind of like some of our prominent events. We got to speak at different conferences, one of them being EarthX, and where we got to kind of talk about environmental conservation and stuff like that, and just topics that need to be talked about in today's day and
Right. Let's take you back. Let me take you back to DC. You said you were working on a critical, issue. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your specific role was?
Yeah, so in DC, I was kind of like the representative there for and it I was based in a program called IHL or International Humanitarian Law. And there I got to present what some of the work that my nonprofit does and what I do as an individual and how it kind of relates with Red Cross and their principles, especially how they cater for like the army for blood donations and how it kind of relates internationally and how I and my organization have made a difference globally. And yeah, that was kind of my role.
Okay, so you speak and talk about issues that you care about as a student, as Lipika, but also as AWE, right?
Yes.
So, how many in some of the collaborations you have had with other organizations, like how much of your human resource actually goes to the ground and where these these activities are being implemented? You mentioned Uganda, and I'm asking that because I'm from Uganda, and I'm just curious to know, like, what exactly did you do in that country, and how, were you on the ground, were you providing tech support, what kind of collaboration do you do?
Yeah, so our collaboration was more virtually. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go ground to ground there. And it was just because we were still like kind of just building our scope. It was more towards like this charity, and we wanted to kind of fundraise for their cause. And they told us like in the podcast that we did with them, they kind of told us about like their daily life and then what happens in their society and kind of like what resources they're depleting of and what they need in urgency. So we kind of acted based on that. And they told us their needs, and we kind of fundraised for their needs through bake sales, and just creative avenues. And yeah, that was kind of it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do groundwork, but hopefully, that's what we got through.
Oh yeah, no, any contribution is significant. So then back to your work again. What are some of the upcoming activities? Actually, before even we get there, what are some of the best practices that you have learned from engaging with all these organizations?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. All these organizations are so organized and so put together, and they're filled with such driven people that really want to make a difference. And that kind of like that's what I took out of a lot of these collaborations and partnerships that we have done. And it's just like that just keeps us motivated, even though when like our events are not going as planned or something that isn't working out in our way doesn't, go with our plan. It's just like it's not very motivating, like destabilizes you. But honestly, like seeing these people so driven, so motivated, it's just something like that just keeps us going, like to our mission, like why we started this in the first place.
Right. And what are some of the upcoming activities that you hope to be a part of or that you have already planned?
Yes, right now we're actually planning a couple of events. One of them being it's called A Reason to Live. And this is kind of like a very, very short but sweet kind of event that we're planning to do, make it like a region-wide event through different campuses and colleges. And right now we're planning it at different high schools and universities. And we have Cullen College in the line of work. And it's basically where students write one of their reasons to live and like what motivates them on a post-it note and just put it on a wall, and that just kind of becomes a whole collage. That's one of the events that is in the works right now. Another one being we're planning a collaboration event with Seva, and we're doing a mental health and mental health event where it's like all age inclusive, where we get like guest speakers and students and everyone involved, and really understand the importance of mental health and kind of destigmatize the stigma around mental health and kind of get everyone comfortable enough to like talk about their life.
Yeah, maybe that's awesome. It sound like very exciting activities. But let's take you back to like your whole process of creating this organization. What was the journey like for you, and what was the who supported you? Because you're in school, you're young people. Uh, what support system did you have to put this in place?
Yeah, no, I it was a long journey to say the least. It wasn't easy at all in whatsoever. It was a lot of self-research, a lot of support from my friends, and networking with people that have already accomplished like a bigger like goal in their life and asking them for advice, just kind of taking advice from them to really nurture our idea. It was a lot of like support from my family and friends. And yeah, it was just a lot of networking from our ends and getting any advice that we get so that we could be at a better step. And yeah.
And if we were to reach out to young people like yourselves who are passionate about making a difference about healthcare, what is the best way to reach young audiences like yourselves?
One of the best ways, I guess, to reach young audience is mainly through social media. It's a lot of social media because we know like the youth is really driven with social media. So social media is like a big outlet to a lot of like spreading awareness. I'd say just like also talking to your friends and kind of spreading the message through verbally. But the biggest difference you can make is through social media and Instagram, TikTok, and yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say social media is a lot. Like, if you narrowed it down to just three for platforms, which ones would they be?
I definitely say number one being TikTok, TikTok, Instagram. What is another one? I think it's mainly the TikTok and Instagram that is everyone's so active on. Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of another one, but TikTok and Instagram.
That's okay. I mean, there doesn't have to be another one. It might just be those two, and which is interesting. So, how much of just the last question? How much of these platforms do you integrate in your work, and what is your audience for this nonprofit organization? Because I'm, curious to know how you're trying to reach that audience.
No, that's a wonderful question. We like our main social media outlets are Instagram, and we also have TikTok page, and we also have a YouTube, which is in the works right now, and we're also working on a Spotify for our podcast. Um, and yeah, those are like the main outlets and how we kind of reach the audience that we need. And like our target audience is like honestly very inclusive. It's mainly like high school teenagers, but it's also like catered to parents and like college students. I just feel like it's a very inclusive organization.
Well, and so again, like I mentioned before we started this interview, it's always humbling to have young people who are passionate about making a difference in society. It's great to have you as my guest on this show. Before we say bye bye, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to tell our audience?
Not really, but if I could get a shout out from ours, please
Absolutely.
do please do follow us at A.W.E_NGO. And that's all of our account information for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yeah, can you say that again because you faded out?
Oh, yes, of course. It is A.W.E_NGO.
Perfect. So again, Lipika, it was so great to have you on my show. Thanks for the work you're doing. Keep up the work. And if there are activities that you'd like us to know about, reach out and we'll, let the world know what's going on.
Yes,
But
of
for
course.
now, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Until next time.